Don't stop asking people. I think I emailed roughly 60 professors and only one responded. The worst that they're going to do is not respond to you. No.
So, what exactly is the process for going from, like I have this invention to pitching and getting investors, or like what is the first step to having a startup?
I would say the first step to having a startup, especially if you're going to go biotech.
So, today I'm welcoming to the podcast Grace, who I've hopefully introduced in the intro. But yeah, I guess my first question for you when finding out, you've got into ISEF, you've started this biotech company based on disease, what got you started with all of this? What was your first kind of project about, and what got you interested in that?
On June 14, 2022, I developed celiac disease and I came out of that endoscopy and I remember just feeling so heartbroken. And I never realized how much this truly was going to start affecting me until a couple days after that. We were invited to someone's house for some cake. And I remember that my sister was eating a lot of it and I was joking around with her. I was like, it's not going to run away. And she was like, but I want to make sure that I can eat cake when I'm older and not have celiac like you do. Um, so that day is when I decided, all right, this is going to change. And I started emailing a bunch of professors and I said, I have this idea and I want to make this work. And I was really, really grateful that one professor at the University of Pennsylvania came to me and said, yes, Dr. Chen. With him, I created a novel stem cell-based therapy for celiac disease, and we can obviously expand more on that later, but that was like kind of my first moment. And so walking into every single project or presentation or even investor meeting, I'm super confident because I know that not only do I have that scientific background, but I also have that patient background, and that's something that is quite valuable, especially in this industry.
Yeah, honestly, that's so crazy. I didn't even know that about you until now that you're just explaining it to me. But it's crazy that you have like such a personal connection to what you're starting and what you're doing now. Yeah, so I am curious, like, what do you mean by I guess like a stem cell solution for celiac? Like, what exactly
Yeah.
does that mean?
So I found out that mesenchymal stem cells, which are stem cells found in most places in the body, but specifically in deciduous teeth or baby teeth, they contain properties to regenerate tissue growth. And this is quite different because a lot of approaches right now are embryonic, which means that those cells have the potential of becoming a child sometime in the long run. And the three Abrahamic religions, which dominate most of the world, you're not allowed to use embryonic stem cells. So using a non-embryonic stem cell allows them to take it. And not only that, it's more cost efficient and non-invasive because they're found in baby teeth. So you don't have to cut any bone marrow to find it. There's no umbilical cords, no nothing. You just lose your baby tooth. So I took that and injected them into some mice, and I gave them my celiac disease beforehand just to see what the results would be. And then the following year, I discovered the pathway. It is the PD-1, PDL1 pathway. And with all that research, I presented to ISEF for 2 of the 4 years.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I'm not sure how much of that I completely understood, but honestly, that's insane how you kind of facilitated an entire experiment, with an idea starting from that and moving from there. I guess for anyone who's out there who's kind of is in the situation as you were when you're first starting out, you have this idea. What advice would you give to them?
Don't stop asking people. I think I emailed roughly 60 professors and only one responded. The worst that they're going to do is not respond to you. No professor, no PI, no lab is going to look at you and tell you that your idea is terrible. They're not going to take the time out of their day to do that. The most that they're going to say is sorry, no, but here's an idea. And kind of just follow that idea. I only found Dr. Chen after it was like three people recommend, like I had to cross three people to get a recommendation for him. Um, so just keep going. Like don't give up. Just one no does not mean that the rest of your career is over. You just got to find that one person who will believe in you.
Yeah. I mean, so how did you get from, doing all this research and doing this work in high school to now founding your biotech company, Mezzo, or actually I'm not sure how to say it,
Yeah, Mezzo.
Mezzo Biotech? Yeah, how did
Mhm.
you get here?
So I actually did start the company in high school. Uh, and that was inspired by my senior year project. So in October, I started to experience some intestinal discomfort, and I was really shocked at the doctor who I was talking to, she didn't want to give me a colonoscopy, and I said that's not okay. Like I really do need this colonoscopy. I was having some bleeding, and she said like no, like there's not enough evidence. And so I stayed without an endoscopy from October to January, and throughout that time, I decided to create a device, which is essentially a breathalyzer, but for GI issues. So you breathe on it for 2 minutes. And depending on the sensors, I can kind of put you in a range and see what GI d disease you have. So from that, I discovered I probably have ulcerative colitis. And by that time, I was put inside the endoscopy and a colonoscopy, and I discovered that I did have ulcerative colitis. But just the fact alone that I could have been treated so many months prior kind of sparked this idea that, oh my God, like I should start selling this. So it's obviously a very long process, and I'm just starting it. I'm still only 18. I'm gonna turn 19 like next week. And it is quite difficult to get people to believe in you at this age. But like I said before, just keep asking, and some people will believe. And thanks to the people who are believing in me, I'm now starting to get into like the preclinical stages for the FDA, and I'm just really grateful for that experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. I know it's really difficult um and different to get into like the bio world of startups because you have to get like all the like what you were mentioning FDA and all that stuff. So what exactly is the process from going from, like I have this invention to pitching and getting investors or like what is the first step to having a startup?
Yeah, well, I would say the first step to having a startup, especially if you're going to go biotech, this kind of relates back to Mezzo and its mission, is that most biotechs focused on one thing, and that's either going to be kind of letting this product be accessible to the public, or it's going to be let's advance the scientific community. So it's either or. And so Mezzo in Italian means the middle. And so it's supposed to bridge those two. And I would say to anyone who is looking to have any idea is patent your idea. That goes for anything. I mean, I have obviously, you can ask anyone who's been to ISEF. There are some people who like to come into like the rooms and just kind of ask you a couple of questions that makes you understand that they're trying to take your idea from you. Um, and just saying I have a patent, like kind of like they go on a detour and they just like leave. A lot of people will try to take advantage of your age and of just everything that you're owning. Don't let them take advantage of your intellect unless you want to sell your idea. But even if you want to sell your idea, you need that patent. You can get a provisional for 1 year. You can get a provisional for 1 year, and then you can enlist for your utility. After that, you're gonna have to talk to a couple of people for IRBs, and just anything that you need. I have a book called How to Start a Business for Dummies. It is actually pretty beneficial. And if you're in any college or university, there's obviously a plethora of resources. I go to Penn State. I'm in the Shire Honors College, and I used some of the resources at Launchbox. And I know that UPenn has venture labs, and there's just so many opportunities once you get to college that you can 100% take it full advantage of. And if you're not at college, honestly, talk to a lot of your teachers. Some of them might have some connections. And if you can't, start Googling up people in your area. Like in Penn State, there's a couple of biotechs, and I've reached out to their CEOs, and I'm starting to have meetings with them because the best way that you're going to learn is from other people because you don't want to, if you have the option to hear what they did wrong instead of you doing it wrong yourself, you should fully take that option because once you start getting into the startup realm, you're not only going to start losing your money, but most probably your investors' money.
Oh, wow, that's powerful. Yeah, I mean, I did not even think about patents at all when I was thinking of biotech. I thought the hardest part would be, like getting it approved or something. But I mean, yeah, speaking of the hardest part, what was the hardest part of this process so far?
Just getting people to believe in you, I think, really. And it is very difficult, especially at a younger age. And if you're not from a certain type of family, it's harder for you to kind of get into that world and break into it. But once you do, you'll be able to access so many great people. Um, but I think that's really the hardest. The hardest is not knowing where to start. Um, but like I said, there's so many great resources that you can really take advantage of. And a lot of people in those high positions of power, like they will. respond back to you, which is kind of shocking. I know George Yancopoulos at Regeneron, he's their CEO and he's also a co-founder or CEO. He's one of the C's. I've met him 4 times at each of my ISEFs, and I've asked him a couple questions each time, and he is so willing to like help me. And every single year that I go, he's like, "Oh my God, like I remember you." And I feel like that kind of shows what also separates the people from the top. Those types of people who take the time to sit down and remember your name. Having someone like George Yancopoulos say, "Oh my God, I remember you," it helps you out a lot, and it lets you know that like someone believes in you, which is again like that's the hardest thing. I truly believe.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I guess
All
just
good.
kind of as a last question for the audience, um, do you have any, or actually, wait, I'm going to change that. I actually wanted to know one last thing, which
Yeah.
is, like, what do you see yourself doing, I guess, in the future, maybe in a few years or more than that, if you can see that far into the future? Yeah.
Um, that's a really good question. Um,
If you're not sure, that's fine too.
no, it's okay. I The one thing that I will always see myself doing, no matter how many years down the future it is continuing to advocate for people with celiac disease and people with ulcerative colitis and all these different diseases. It's hard enough being diagnosed with something, and it's more harder when it's on the inside and people can't see what it is. And people think that it's not serious, but when you're at a restaurant with your friends and everyone's ordering a burger and you get a lettuce wrap, it's those small distinctions that make you feel different. And it's not a very fun distinction. I just got into remission from my ulcerative colitis a couple months ago, and it is hard. And coming into college with a roommate who has to see me go through that process, it's also very hard. Um, so I guess I will always 100% be an advocate. I'm an advocate for a plethora of things. I go to a lot of Beyond Celiac conferences and I talk with a lot of the lead researchers. I go to the Capitol Hill now. I've started doing internships and such with the Armenian National Committee of America to speak about Armenian issues. And a lot of people think that when you talk a lot, it doesn't mean anything, but it does. I mean, the FDA just started it was just like released yesterday. It was so crazy. When you have a nutrition label, it doesn't say gluten. It won't say contains gluten. It only says
Oh my
contains
God.
wheat. But people with celiac disease were affected by wheat, barley, rye, and malt. So we still sit and we read for barley, rye, and malt. And now they're asking us. They're like have like a forum and they're like, please submit anything that you want the FDA to know about celiac disease because we're going to change the label. And that took years. My dad has celiac disease. He was diagnosed several years ago, and he even says like it's things are changing. And really, your voice is the strongest thing. So going back to that, definitely be an advocate if that's within the medical field, the scientific field. I definitely want to continue doing research on stem cells because I truly believe that's the future. CRISPR and all these other gene editings, like I said, it's not accessible to all, and it's invasive to a lot of people. But if this is not, then why not take that avenue? So I think I will just be continuing on that and then continuing on my advocacy and leaving enough room for some adaptation because the world will continue to change and we see it with AI, we see it with a lot of governments and it's an interesting thing, it's an interesting time and it's a privilege to live in this time and to be able to adapt. So I think we will see, but those things definitely will stay.
Hmm. Honestly, that's so powerful. I'm going to take that advocacy thing that you mentioned with me away from this interview because honestly, I think it's very scary for a lot of people to, put themselves out there and like speak their actual opinion. But the fact that you're doing it on such a public level about these issues, um, yeah, it's just really inspiring. So thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.